intro on my end yet, but
What's up, everybody? Back again, Warp Charge Gaming. It is Chris and James and me, George, up in the house for episode 70, special Thursday night talk show we do every week, but this one is a once-a-year occasion as we are back from Nova, and this is the Nova Open recap video. How y'all doing today?
Yo, yo, yo.
yo.
Yeah, it looks like we're alive and well. James is back in Chicagoland, and Chris is in his new temporary home in Nashville, Tennessee, I believe, or Knoxville.
Knoxville, correct?
Right. So here we are from afar. We're going to have a special guest tonight, which I'm excited to have, Jeremy Knox. He got 10th place in Nova out of like 296 players, I believe. And at the last half of the show, we're going to bring him on and talk about his performance. Just a super great guy, very genuine, and look forward to have him on the show and just talk about his first Nova Open and how he did so well at his very first Nova. So super cool. Us as Warp Charge, we definitely had some acolytes we took home. We did some good stuff. Something we've talked about in the last 3 episodes or so, several episodes, has been the Nova Trios. That's something that James and Chris and I performed as Team Warp Charged, and very proud to say that we were able to pull second place. It was 171 players and 57 teams, and we managed to pull it out. It was a fantastic time. Definitely. It wasn't a sure shot. You know, we built our list through the internets. We never actually got to really practice it besides Chris and I had played a game together. Just a lot of theory crafting. It was all built around.
Only like once.
Yeah. And, technically, we never got to practice it in the way that it actually was. Poxus just gave us a grats. Thank you, buddy. We did not know what the missions were, and we've talked about that for weeks now and how silly that was. Typically Nova Open has their packets out well in advance, just like they had their Grand Trio or their Grand Tournament packet was out well in advance, Kill Team packet well in advance, as to be expected. But the Trios packet, they had it up, but the missions were to be continued on further pages that didn't exist.
Yep.
And man, did it kill me when we got there and we registered at the front desk and they handed us our Trios packet. And I'm like, yes! And it was the printed out version of the same damn thing that was online. I flipped immediately to the back and it was the same thing. Missions on page 11, no further pages.
Yep.
So that killed me a little bit. Literally the day, as we hit the table, we get our missions. And it turns out that it was just the Nova Open GT missions the whole time.
Yeah, and on top of that, then wasn't it? We found this out during play because there was inconsistencies in even the first round scoring. The mission cards they handed out read slightly differently than the packet they handed out. So at one point during the first round scoring, they were disregard the packet, 100% use the cards.
Yeah, we had to submit our score 3 or not, if not more times. We literally had to go back and forth, at least 3. Yeah. We had to go back and forth and submit our scores because James and Chris and I, because in trios, you do a 2v2 and a 1v1 simultaneously. Your combined score equals whether you win or lose. And then throughout the tournament, each player will do a 1v1 and each team member will be in a different team throughout the matches. And both of us, Chris went first as the 1v1 versus Space Wolves. James and I took down. Oh, why didn't I pull up the pictures from that, man? I got some dope pictures of us crushing game 1. But we went against Admech and what was it, James? Admech and it went fast. It was
Guard.
Admech and Guard.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, because I was worried for the singles match, we thought that we may get Guard as my match.
Right. So we contributed our most valuable asset to what was it that came in clutch for winning these games, and primarily it was the choice of who went on the 1v1. What were our matchups? We thought it through. We looked at their list. Each time we made a guess of who they would do during their 1v1, and I think they surprised us each time actually. In the very first one, we thought for sure they were going to put their guard up, but I think that most players were saving their most destructive or all-comers situation or kind of the more slated matchup for later in the event, and they try to put up kind of their
Noob.
Yeah, some of their softer list up first. But
Hey, you can say noob. Chris
Listen,
called
man,
himself out. He called himself out.
I'll be a noob. It's okay.
it was obvious that Chris would do best in the 1v1. It was kind of our best chance. And when you throw up these matchups, you have to make a decision that who may lose, who can still win extremely well, and who, even if they lose, is going to be able to maximize that loss.
Well,
it became important later. Go ahead, Chris.
I was going to say, additionally, I think one of our bigger considerations, and I don't know if you were about to mention this, George, but we knew that your army was probably the best suited of the three of us to handle an army like Tau.
Yeah.
So, like, immediately we were banking George's lists to kind of, like, throw up against the right team matchup.
Which didn't come all the way to the end, funny enough. And even when it did, when at the very end, you have no choice but to throw out your last 1v1. The opponent knows what it is, but they don't have a choice either. And it turned out it was a mirror match. I literally went against almost the exact same list, Demon Horde on Demon Horde. And I actually, due to him going first and kind of swarming the objectives early, it took me an extra couple turns to try to remove him from those objectives. I lost by 4 points, but with like a very high scoring, I mean, it was a higher score than a lot of people's wins. And with James and Chris taking home the victory on their side, we pulled an overall victory. So total, we went undefeated as a team. Chris took down the Space Wolves in round one. James and I annihilated our game one matchup.
Yep.
But what was really interesting about the first game was the precedence it set for the rest of the tournament on the necessity of speed. James and I were, there was all of a sudden they called out over the intercom, an hour remains. And we looked down and we're in turn one. We had our turn, they had their turn. We're about to reach the combat phase of turn one, and we're like, geez. And so we busted out the chess clock. I immediately grabbed the chess clock, split the hour 30-30, and, said, hey guys, plus, because we chose progressive. We're progressive scoring in all of our matches primarily. So if you choose progressive and they're in game, they can score max points at the end, but you can only get max points progressively if you play throughout the whole game. So it was we luckily were so destructive in our first two turns that we were able to just talk out the rest of the game on turn three. They were practically tabled. They were nice gentlemen, didn't want to, cost us any points for just lack of time when it was a definitive destruction. And Chris and our two teams maxed our score. So where the Nova packet they had printed out and handed to us, it says something like 22 max points, where max points was actually like 33. So we were like significantly shortchanging ourselves until we were able to readjust our score for the third time.
Yep.
But after that, we played the clock every game. What were you going to say, Chris?
Also, we didn't mention it, but there was a special list of achievements called War Master, where based off what your warlord accomplishes in a given game, you could win a special award. And shout out to James. He actually took third place overall for War Master, if I'm not mistaken.
Indeed he did. Yeah.
Only 2 points away from first.
What I think is really interesting about what we decided to do versus what you see others do, and just kind of talking about people, because we did a trios primer tournament here at Battlegrounds, where we do tournaments every month and host 3 different leagues simultaneously for the rest of the year. There's Chris repping the shirt. But we did a Nova Trios packet or primer here. We had to do the 2018 missions. We had no idea what they would actually be. But I found the pitfall people make in these trio formats is they're not thinking about when they hit the table with their partner. They're often trying to make a individual good 1,000 point list instead of making a list that supports the other 1,000 points they're going to be partnered up with. And I think that's something we really shined on. We put our initial thought process around the fact that demons and the gene stealers, you have the Sanctus that can snipe characters, and if you get your wound through, then they cause them to perils. And then the demons have the demonic possession stratagem that can cause an additional D3 mortal wounds to something that takes perils. So that was our whole all right, how are we going to fuck over psychers? That was our primary thought process. Plus, James can run all corn. Oh, so good. And the funny thing is, we didn't even get to fight any psychers until the very end. And then James and Chris got to go against a fucking Thousand Suns army that had like 2 supreme command detachments of Thousand Sun characters. Tell us a little bit about how you murked some psychers in that game.
Oh, dude, I I saw Armand in the list, and I immediately got like super turned on, like like uncomfortably so. Like I was like, oh man, I'm gonna kill everything. Like he had to have like what 4 or 5 different psychers that were like and I mean I failed to. I don't think we killed Armand turn 1, did we?
No, we got him down to 1 wound though.
Yeah, we got him down to 1, and then we finished him off turn 2, and then after that we were just picking off psychers here and there.
It was
And
really Chris versus them, and I was just there to use a stratagem.
But I mean, I without James controlling lanes and doing massive cleaves where he could, it was a little dicey here and there. I felt like at a 1 or 2 points, but I mean, my army was not made to operate alone. My army was much more a supporting fire kind of setup. Like George was saying, we planned much more around building to a team concept.
Yep.
James's 1K cleaved and held the lines very well for both of us, I think. Whereas George and I's 1K was much more effective as DPS.
Yeah, we were double. Chris and I were double battalions there to support, giving a bunch of CP to James. He had pure pain train. Tell us about your 1,000 points, James.
Dude, it was 3 discos, and this is a thing that most people didn't know going in, but we emailed ahead of time, and they were playing the rule of 3 for the 1,000 points instead of the actual rule of 2 for 1,000 points that's suggested in the main rulebook. So I got to bring 3 Lord Discos, obviously Corn, Red Corsairs, not Slanesh Flawless Host, and my Corn Demon Prince with some blood letters, and then a Lord on Bike who was just awesome. And the Lord on Bike was my 2K Warlord, and the Corn Demon Prince was my 1K Warlord, which allowed me to get those Warlord points because they were doing work. And every game, they were just not surprised they were surprised that I could get across the board and have multiple charges turn 1. Like in the game with George, that first one, we had 5 charges turn 1.
Yeah, because I Zangor bomb. My 1,000 had a Zangor bomb in it. It was made to eliminate screens or just wrap things up. And
Got a question.
Yeah, what's that? Why would you run them Corn over Flawless? Well, blood for the blood god, obviously.
Bruh, it's called Rule of Cool, and we take fun seriously.
Damn right.
It obviously did not matter, but
Yeah.
also James
my
is.
back still hurts because I carried the team.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no good support at all. Just basically James.
I did get a max in every one of my games, both 2K and 1K.
James was a ringer. There's no doubt, man. James is a hot 40K player, man. He kills it.
It was
dude. It's Corn and having the awesome support that Corn normally does not have, like psychic help, like board control. Like these are things Corn does not have. You give Corn these nice things, Corn takes skulls.
Zangor bomb, right? I mean, Corn never has Zangor bomb.
Ooh, yeah.
The other thing too, though, is James is performing very well in the ITC with Corn and trying to go for that best faction now that they've updated to actually award people that present a singular faction. So it's just a matter of pride as well, and that leads to an interesting topic because one thing that we were just discussing before the show began, and what's a bit of a trip is, the one
only.
Let's hope that they even submit these things to the ITC. I was just glad to see all of our names actually listed in Best Ghost Pairing because there sure as hell wasn't list submitted. They because of like this is for fun or more the narrative concept. It's not called the Trios event or the narrative Trios event. It's called a Trios tournament. Okay, and as soon as you're doing a tournament, this is competitive play. They even had in their packet that was null and void in the first place of like that it's not allowed to make a overly competitive list. And you're like, what? What does that even mean? I mean, hell, wasn't it didn't I send them a question that said, they sent me the don't be a jerk rule?
Oh, the objective marker. Actually, it's funny. I had a conversation with one of our opponents about that because when we were deploying the objectives, he was like, wait, can't I deploy this here? And I was like, we actually already asked this question.
And the answer is not that you can't, it's that you shouldn't be a jerk. So take that as you will. Because apparently that is very up in the air. But yeah, it was. I hope it goes to ITC points. I hope that we actually get that record to be recognized. 190, 171 players, definitely a nice modifier to the score there. And trios and doubles are both kind of weird because it can look like there's 57 teams but 171 players. So how does the modifiers actually go down? And because it's only a three game event, it's still considered an RTT. Obviously, there's RTT, GT, and Major. So a lot of interesting things. The same thing goes for Kill Team. Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Interesting point, I think, to mention that we talked about a little bit before the show. The only team to do better than us, which scored max points every single game, was using New Marines,
Which we didn't even know you could do.
Yeah. We found out at the event. Trios allowed New Marines, the GT did not.
Yeah, which that was not printed anywhere from what I understood. I mean, like, we've been scouring these Nova pages. I don't know. I guess they might have sent an email.
Probably.
The Nova this year on its organizational structure, I do not want to. It's a wonderful event. It's for charity. Games are meant to be fun. Like, whatever. Like, there's a certain level of there's varying opinions about a perspective, or I guess varying perspectives of how you go into Nova, and definitely some people are going to reach top caliber scores and make a name inside the tournament scene. And it's important that we feel confident and comfortable that Nova or any tournament organizer of this caliber is going to be submitting scores and making sure that the rule set is tight, is presented early. You want to eliminate feel bads and X factors as much as possible. And I had no idea. I mean, hell, like maybe we would have ran a Red Corsairs detachment, or maybe we would have ran Berserkers if we would have known we could have used some of these rules.
Dude, most definitely would have ran Berserkers. That would have ran a completely different 2,000 point list instead of the 2,000 point list. I ran in the GT, and I was the only corn player there. Pure corn, but I would have had a much nastier list that I would have had just as much fun because I maxed every game anyways and carried both of you on my back. I'm just playing.
Wait, James, so you said earlier you ran 3 discos, but wasn't it 2 discos and a chitin?
That's in my 2K list.
Yeah. Okay, that was the 2K
discos and the chitin. But in my 1K, I had 3. And
that's right. That's right.
It's nice having 3 of them compared to just 2. Because I didn't lose all 3 ever.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's one thing is like they're so tanky, and they move so quick. That first game, they put 3 tanks on the line to almost screen for some other things, not thinking we could have turn 1 charge, even though we told them that I could advance and charge. And with the field specialist, I get that extra 2 inches, and it makes it a pretty small charge when you're doing Dawn of War.
Yeah.
Bobby Halls has a comment for you, James. He says 3 discos and 1K, filth.
Oh, agreed.
Which would never work without the appropriate, assistance. Having a double battalion to back it up, that's fantastic. And then, of course, the bodies to score, to screen, the psychic abilities. We could have diabolical strength. We could have warp timed that motherfucker.
Yeah, there was a lot we could have done and didn't even need to do.
Exactly.
It was really intense. I mean, the Lord that I like to run, I keep talking up this Lord because he moves 20 inches and is able to charge along with those discos advancing and moving 12. It's like, dude, I'm making like 6-inch charges on turn 1 when you pull up online. And their favorite vehicle or their favorite target is light vehicles. And they gave me 3 of them.
Totally.
So that was just like candy. Like I was so excited. I was telling George how excited I was. Like we were both trying to keep our cool because like they even had troops on one side, so it was like perfect for the Zangors to then pile in and wrap another vehicle.
Of course,
like,
we rolled that fat 6 too for the turn as well, of course, which was
amazing. So we got to go first, and that was clutch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I seized my first game actually too.
Oh, that's why we both maxed. We ruined some days. So, that was Thursday, and we were high on life. We kicked some ass. We felt good. James got 3rd at Battle Master. Despite all the odds, we performed, and it was awesome. The rest of the weekend was GT focused, and then I was playing a buttload of Kill Team. I played Kill Team Pods 1 and 2 on Friday from morning to evening, and then Saturday got into the GT. I am excited to have brought home a Nova Award. I'll show you guys that now. Pretty cool. And that was playing in the kill team. It was actually in the PM pod. I scored so many points in the AM pod that they thought I won because I scored more points than everyone. But I actually lost by a point against Star Striders in the final matchup due to a gotcha moment. He had a stratagem I wasn't aware of.
The doors.
Yeah, man. I was trying to show you guys some different images here. Here's a group shot of all the kill team players in the GT. Pretty sweet. Here's a shot of the very awesome TO Ben Cash. Great guy. But we were able to. I'm trying to think of how to say this. So. Yeah, the Star Striders, they had an ability. I'd never gone against them, and we were playing in Arena. And in Arena and Kill Team, it's like, what would you call it? Like Space Hulk. There's corridors and doors.
Yep.
It's ultra close confines. Getting lost on my, here we go. So the word is that I thought I had everything unlocked. The game was well secured. And the guy says, like, I got this trick up my sleeve. I'm trying to set it up. I didn't know what he was going to do, you know. And the game is nearing completion. And all of a sudden, he opens these doors remotely with one of his specialists. See, the Star Striders were introduced in the Rogue Trader expansion of Kill Team, where it was all based on ultra-close confines fighting inside of a ship that had been affected by the Geller field going down, introducing the Geller Pox Infected. And so the Geller Pox Infected and the Star Striders are some of the only kill teams that have rules that specialize in affecting the arena-style board, being inside of close confines. And they had a tactic that allowed them to open doors remotely, in which he had a nasty gun waiting on the other side and lit up my guys that were on the objective, getting both the kills and causing me to have to break. And the leadership actually pulled me off the objectives, giving him the win by a point. So it was pretty wild. It was really cool, though. We had a really cool, it was fun to have a crowd around. I think I got some shots here, so many images, getting lost. But man, it was a great time. Here's some ones. Here, this is actually the gentleman I played. Deep in thought there. You can see the small crowd hanging around us as we were having a great time. It was really cool to meet people from all over the world. We had people from Canada there and afar. And it was fun to meet people that were from the Glass Half Dead Discord that I take part in. And I suggest that to any folks out there that are Kill Team enthusiasts. Go check out the Glass Half Dead Discord. He has a great YouTube channel, about the same amount of subs as us, with a pure Kill Team focus. Guy based out of the UK named Andy. We've done an interview with him before on his channel, and just a very nice location for the community to gather in his Discord there. So another interesting thing is I was so appreciative of the community from the Kill Team Discord that Glass Half Dead host. They were so alive with their engagement of watching the pairings and wanting to know every detail what was going on in this major Kill Team event, that I went ahead and I posted them early before anyone else an exclusive raw footage take of all the footage I took of my Kill Team matches. So if you go to the Glass Half Dead Discord and go to the Bat Rep channel, you can right now see the hidden video links to watching me play my Kill Team matches for the Pod 1 and Pod 2, and I just got the GT exported, get ready to post that. Now the
Spicy.
GT, yeah, pretty cool. It looks really nice actually, and it sounds pretty good too, coming from a camera mic. The GT was pretty wild. I lost to Orcs in the finals, and it was unexpected, man. I just did not have Orcs in my perspective, and to be honest, I had not studied or played against them once the Elites book came out for Kill Team. Elites introduced sub-factions and additional units, but the sub-faction traits, or the cultures that the Orcs get, they could take the Evil Sons, giving them +1 to move, advance, and charge. And this game, using the WOG tactic that they have, plus their chapter tactic, they were able to get a ridiculous charge on turn 1. He had 18 boys lined up, and I was lined up on the deployment zone line, not expecting for 10-inch charges to be a piece of cake. But he just crossed the whole board with his whole army, and I had an uphill battle from the very start. I almost pulled out a win by causing him to break, and it was a brutal, crunchy game. But at the end, he took it home, and actually, I think, ended up in 3rd place, right under the Necron Chuck, who we've also done an interview with before. This year he wasn't playing Necrons though, he's playing Tyranids, played a Tyranid Horde who got second. And our friend Alex, his roommate from Vancouver, Canada, brought Tau and took home first place. He actually had to go against that orc list that took me down. But it was interesting because it was randomized between arena and open play, and it was Tau versus orcs on an open field with a hammer style. But in that, yeah, just like hammer is in 40K table, it gives you the longest distance between where you can actually get to the bodies. So he was able to really sit in the back and just unload guns and take out that orc horde for a win finish there. What's that?
George, was that the Tau player that had all the drones?
He had several drones, as any Tau player does. I don't know if you might be thinking of the 40K Tau player, though, they got first place.
No, I'm thinking of... Yeah, no, I'm thinking of the guy. I think I saw you playing him, like, maybe even your first game. He had, like, the camo paint job drones.
Yeah, no, that was not him. That poor fellow got wrecked. I want to show a picture. Check this one out. Let's see. This is a special artifact I found years ago. My first Nova Open on a drunk night about. You notice in this picture I'm wearing two different shoes. One of these shoes is affectionately called the Smite shoe. As we walked drunkenly down the streets of the Nova Open area, I found this beautiful shiny shoe in the ground, and my foot fit in like a magical Cinderella. It was like Zinch told me to wear this shoe and cause many smites. See, year one was Index Land, and I was running Malefic Lords. And here you can see me making a W as I praise the Smite shoe and roll many smites. Well, the Smite shoe did not do me wrong on the first game against that Tau player with the camo Tau. If you guys get a chance to watch it, it was ridiculous. It was an arena matchup. He shot me with one of his, he shot me in Overwatch with one of his Tau guys. I split into a blue horror. So I just decided, instead of charging the blue horror, I'm just gonna walk it up next to his big gun line that can Overwatch with, supporting fire with all these different guns. So I walk up to him. I'm in range of all of them, just standing right next to him. Like, all right, I'm just gonna stand here. I don't even know why.
Oh, this moment.
I think I was just walking up to like one of the targets I wanted to smite, but it turned out instead of getting my side bolt or my smite off, I perils. And for horrors in Kill Team, they don't take injury checks, they just die. And when you die from perils as like 40K, you explode and everything around you gets sucked into the warp. Everything within 3 takes D3 mortals. Well, D3 mortals in Kill Team is game winning if it wipes out their whole army.
Yeah.
He had
that's vicious.
God, dude, he had all of his Tau shit right next to each other. And I literally took out 4 of his models and flesh wound the other. And I'm talking like 2 wound models. He had his recon drone, had a stealth suit, and I'd roll the D3 damage, rock the 2+ wounds, roll the out of action, rolled the out of action, rolled the out of action. This poor chap. I was already had a significant lead in the game, but then it was just over.
You savaged that poor man.
I did not mean to. I was trying to be gentle. He was a kind gentleman and a lovely person.
His armor looked really good too.
I can't help having Smite shoes, man. If you find a shoe on the ground and it fits, you better damn wear it. Let me just say that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying now. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was pretty much the gist. It is time we are halfway through the show. Is there anything else we want to cover real quick before we try to bring on Jeremy here?
I mean, there's the main Kill Team event, but I don't know if you want to save that until afterwards or not.
No big deal. We can talk about it later. I'd rather get Jeremy in here and talk about his cool
Damn
performance.
right.
Let me see if I can get this generated here.
So some of you might be wondering why we would get like a 10th place person from Nova on here. But Jeremy came to Battle in the Warp major that we threw and did very well there. And this is his first like true major like Nova. And he performed so well. And when he tells you about this, you're going to be like, man, I'm rooting for this guy from every event that he goes to because I know.
Yep. Yeah.
Totally. It was his first Nova. It was his first major event besides the one that we threw, which was still just kind of like in a game store. This was almost 300 people he was up against, and when I saw him 5 games in with a perfect score, I was like, my God, there he is now. What's up, man? How you doing?
Good. How's everybody doing tonight?
Doing
Pretty good,
good.
man.
Good to have
Yes.
you. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're just kind of breaking it down, man. How you had a perfect score, just damn nearly, anyways, going into round 5. That was so cool, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. That was a pretty epic moment. You know, you set goals for yourself coming into the event. Mine was to get into that top bracket. I had no idea that I was going to go up against legends and come up with a near perfect score. That was insane.
For sure, dude. Yeah. So you, speaking of some top names in the industry, there, you started out with. I mean, it was badass enough that you got on the Warhammer TV stream twice, right?
Yeah, I had no intentions of getting on that stream, but I got on there twice. That was amazing.
I've never even known somebody that got on there twice, unless you made it like all the way to the tippity end, So pretty sick. Let's see. I got an image here. Here's a screenshot of Jeremy when he had his first place. I was outside smoking. Jeremy was out there. I was like, "Yo, dude, how you doing?" Those casual conversation as per usual. And he's like, "Dude, I'm in first place." I was like, "What?" And if you guys look at the score there, 33, 33, 32, 33. That 33 is the max score. And I know you were on cloud 9 at that point, man. You had gone against Ganyo. You gone against Wingfield. And didn't you even go against Vessel as well?
No, I actually went against Matt Root in round 5.
Yeah. He who won Adepticon last year.
Mm-hmm.
What did he run this year?
He
was
ran his
the. Yep.
he ran his Gene Stealer cult list.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure because back when he won at Adepticon, it was prior to the Rule of 3, and he was running like 5 Hive Tyrants with wings. And funny enough, I don't know if it's a coincidence, but right after that, that was no longer a thing that was allowed.
He was running like 8. It was ridiculous.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, it was like 7 or 8 hive times.
Jeez. So
it was gross.
out of those matches, Jeremy, which ones out of those first 5 were you like sweating it the most? Were you sweating it when you were on stream? That was against Austin for the first time, right? Round 3.
Yeah, because Austin and I, we have history. So our first meeting was at Warzone Atomic about a year ago, and this was like my first time playing in a Warzone style event because I was just getting my feet wet in competition. And he ran the shop on me with his Magnus Morty Smash Brothers list. And then I had for our second game at your event, at Warp Charge GT, where he came in with a Renegade Knight, 3 Lord Discordants, some Plague Bears, and Brimstones. And I had a similar list to what I brought to Nova. But thanks to that game, I made the modifications to my Nova list that really helped me, get the victory over him in round 3. Because I was like, man, I've seen this before, and I know how Austin plays, and I cannot let him get those knights into my back line. So if you see on the stream, I played a little cagey, and it paid off in the end. I was able to take some high risk moves that yielded some great rewards. Even the streamers were like, "What is this guy doing?" And my friends back home were like, "You guys don't know Jeremy like we do. He's over there trying to play for those bad dice." And I was like, historically, I have some off the wall luck when it comes down to getting things done with dice rolls, and so I was over there putting contingency plan after contingency plan in place, and so that ultimately led me to get that victory. It was crazy.
Dude,
It was so epic.
you were cracking me up because you said that I haven't got to watch the stream in full yet, but you were saying you watched it on the back end and the reps, like you had Reese and Frankie and some probably one of the GW guys. They were kind of talking shit about your tactics, right?
Yeah, they totally didn't understand some of the things I was doing. Like, why did he move that Venom over there? Why is he playing those Ravagers aggressive? I think he's overcommitting the bites. And then, as you saw, in the next turn, they started to retract statements like, "Holy crap!" Like, this is paying off for him.
Yeah, that's gotta feel good, man. And it was really cool. I saw kind of your back end post to Facebook, kind of just saying like, "Hey guys, had an amazing time. Thank you to these people." And it was super cool to see Mike Brandt, the CEO of Nova, and you had Frankie jump on there and give you props for being a great player and a gentleman. Like super cool, man, to be getting to rub shoulders and to be recognized by the names in the industry like that.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome, especially getting to compete against a bunch of these guys that you always hear about it um, in, the tournament results and being able to compete against them, that really brought something to me and made Nova special to me.
For sure, and not just compete, but I mean, not to toot your horn, but damn, dude, you won a
Smack
lot of
them
those
around.
too. Yeah, nice work.
You were cracking me up, Jeremy, when we were talking outside. You were saying going into the battle in the Warp Major, you were talking some friendly smack to Austin about how you owed him a beating, and he threw some back at you. He was going to be like, "You're going to owe me two instead." I think you returned two in one SmackDown.
Yep, sure is. That's the record, so I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So in your final matchup there, the last couple games were a little bit tricky. I remember when we were talking outside, you were concerned about orcs in your last matchup of that day, match 6, and I think you ended up going against Gene Stealer Colt instead, huh?
Yeah, so that was somehow I ended up getting past Anthony Birdsong and his 18 shock attack guns. I think it was like a strength of schedule that paired me up against Matt Root. And I was like, man, this isn't any better. Like, my list is not designed for hordes. I'm a vehicle and night killer. Like,
Right.
so it was really crazy that game where, like Gene Stealers, they had the blips all over the place. You have a
Mm-hmm.
ton of stuff in Deep Strike. You don't know where anything is going. So it's literally like you're playing in the dark and you're trying to find the boogeyman, and he can come out of any closet at any moment on you. And so when the game started, they revealed themselves in the movement phase. So I knew that with Gene Steeler Colts, with that much in deep strike and potentially going back under, I knew that I had to get the jump on him early. And I had no idea where he was going to go. He baited me to the left flank, so I had a lot of my bikes over there, characters. So that was when I leveraged some shenanigans. And so things that people don't think about is like Harlequins have a small like teleport stratagem that works really well for their three characters.
Uh huh.
So I was able to pick up the Death Jester, Shadow Seer, and the Solitaire, get them over there in his back lines. And then I was over here advancing bites across the field, Venom's going full speed. And it got to the point where I had all my guns in range and I started to chip away at all of his shack units. And so that opened up like the patriarch, the brute lord looking guy. That opened him up to my ravagers. So I was able to take him down. Bites were able to start picking up characters. Death Jester had an amazing round of shooting. A lot of people on the forums and also in the streets was like, why did this guy bring a Death Jester? Well, when you have a Dreaming Shadow Death Jester with that curtain fall relic, you
Right.
play that example made, and you're over here, putting up at least 6 hits against someone because the Death Jester is hitting on twos, and then with the player Twilight, you get a free hit roll or wound roll to re-roll. So I flipped a miss into a hit. So I was able to pick up a character, and then after that, Solitaire, Shadow Seer, do your work.
Yeah.
And top
Oh,
of turn
not to
two,
be
it was
underestimated.
top of turn two, it was boots on the ground. We even called the judge over to confirm that that's how that is played. Because the argument was you can't boot someone if it's like the top of the battle round, but the actual ruling is that if it happens at the top of the first turn, the second player gets a turn still. But if it happens any other battle round at the end of the player turn, that guy's army is boots. So
Oh.
that came out to a 33-0
Oh,
victory and
damn.
ended
Wow.
in
So you
a
did that by
very short
you.
period of time.
So you made that happen by screening. You killed everything that was on the table and then screened out any of his reserves.
No,
Or no,
I
he just
killed
he.
everything on the table.
Just straight
Yeah.
up. Oh, just straight up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jeez,
Yeah, he underestimated the speed and how much firepower I actually had.
yeah, that's vicious, man.
That's interesting to me too, because you mentioned how they switched the strength of schedule up on you, or not switched the schedule, but like switched opponents on you. I think you were telling me you and your first opponent had already basically had your deployment and everything done, so you had to reshuffle on the fly, huh?
Yeah, so that one happened in the championship bracket, and this was when I
Ah,
was on the stream for the second time, and I was like, I'm playing against Eldar Flyers. Like, this is not going to be a game on this stream because he
Right.
had
yep.
literally three characters, three units of Rangers on the ground. The rest of it was Flyers. I was like, well, I'm gonna get my bikes over there and pick up characters. I'm gonna pick up Rangers with the Venoms,
Oh, that was a
and we're gonna
dream.
end this
Dream. That
in
was a
turn.
dream
It
matchup.
was a dream match.
Yeah.
And then the judge comes over and was like, "We got the pairings wrong." I was like, "This has
Oh
to be a very bad
no.
joke." But I had my third unit on the field. This has to be a bad joke. And then I look over in the top tables and I see John Lennon like do this, you can uppercut, and I'm over here like, "Oh my god, I'm about to play Gene Stealer. Here we go!"
Oh
And then
man.
sure enough, he was jogging over to the table, and that was an epic game in itself. And we got mad reviews on that, and everyone went crazy. Said it was hands down the best game on the stream of all Nova. So we were able to hang our hat on that game.
Sure.
Highly tactical, highly skilled, highly respectable, man. It was
That
awesome.
is so cool. I love it, man. Super proud of you.
Also,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I can tell you, man, I didn't have any events after Thursday. I walked around, Nova all week. You were a hot name on people's lips, man. Like, people wanted you to do well. I think even Mike Brandt told you he was rooting for you.
Yep.
Yeah, he did. And the crazy thing about that situation was, I wasn't like putting names with faces with the big guys in the convention. And so, like, Mike Brandt is like a Zen master, right? Like, a calm guy comes up to you and is like, I'm pulling for you. Like, you're doing an amazing job, giving me all this high praise. And, that's, you don't really see that coming from other gamers in the community. And so I had to ask him a question and give some feedback. So I sent this guy a message on Facebook. I think I told you about this, George.
Oh yeah,
And
I was there because it was a moment of you had gotten a buy in a round, and so this is a topic we wanted to cover anyways, Jeremy. I'm going to interrupt
Oh,
you for a second.
yeah.
You had gotten a buy in a round. I think Nova opened some eyes about some standardization practices that need to go down, and it's a nice success story, and a hats off to Nova and Mike Brandt, because we were outside talking and Jeremy was upset because he had a win, but it was his lowest win of the tournament because it was a bye win, and they had nothing in the packet dictating how a bye would be handled. Nova prides themselves on being an industry leader, the innovators of a good tournament packet, and that they are not ITC, and that ITC kind of follows suit with them. And in ITC packets, you get 20 points. You get like kind of half your points if you take a bye win. And they defaulted that to Jeremy, and it was kind of messed up because it took out his chances for top scores when every other score he had, as I showed you guys a minute ago, is he had 33, 33, 33, 32, 33, and here it was a 20, and it was just not, didn't feel fair. And I remember, being like, "Hey, Jeremy, like Mike's a nice guy. He should be receptive, and he's very active on Facebook." And you busted out your phone and texted him right. I was impressed. You're like, "I'm doing this right now." And I remember what you said to him via text. You're like, "Where are you? I'll meet you anywhere." I was like, "Damn straight, dog.
I needed to
Go
get
get it."
feedback in person. And so
Yeah.
it was real crazy because I was working with Phil. He was head judge, I think. And so I went up and I wanted to follow up with him and ask him, what were we going to do about this situation? And he was like, "I'm talking to Mike about it right now." And I was like, "Hold up, wait a minute. You're Mike? Wait, dude, what's going on? And so, that was amazing to like see how great of a guy Mike really is. Like, I had no idea who he was up front until that moment, and that gave me so much more respect for him. He was like, I totally agree with how that ruling was made, and I think that we shouldn't knock somebody down like 13 to 8 points because their opponent didn't show up, because that takes you automatically out of running for things like Battle Master, second to none, things of that sort. And
Sure.
so he was like, we'll just do an average of the score. And I thought that was totally fair. And luckily my scores were, like you said, that huge streak. So it averaged out to 31 points. So I was really happy about that. It gave me a great warm feeling about Nova. It's like, yeah,
Totally.
if you got these guys running it, I'm here every year now.
Yeah, I was feeling a kind of, just living vicariously through your victory streak there. I was feeling like hurt or like unfair, and just like it wasn't good feelings. And I was very happy that they did that for you. I have a lot of respect for it as well, and I hope that it's a precedent going forward for other organizers. And it really should be written into the ITC as well, in my opinion. It's like that should be the standard. You get your average points.
Yeah, it leaves you with the feel badsies when your losses have higher scores than your wins. It's like, what? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, or exactly. It doesn't make sense at all. Yeah, I had a similar instance of a buy snafu in the Kill Team GT, but I'm not gonna go too crazy on that. But it's a thing, and that if you don't have a plan in place to how to deal with it appropriately, it can really screw up things. It can screw up things for a player's experience. It can kind of screw up the tournament results. You don't want someone winning either because they got to buy. At least not an unfair buy score, anyways. And I think the average is something everybody can get behind. So I don't even know who you fought in the very end there, Jeremy. What were your last matches that you were able not to end up pull a win against?
Man, I came against the murderous road. Like when I thought, I was in the Sharks tank in the championship bracket. So my first game started off against John Lennon. My second opponent, I got the buy over. And then my third game was Justin Lewis. And, that Relic Battle Tank does some work against bikes. Yeah. It was a really close game up until the end, but I just didn't have enough to deal with the Caladius tanks that were remaining and also dealing with that Relic Battle Cannon.
Yeah.
He played it really good.
Was he able to get first on you on that one, or?
Yeah, he was able to squeak that one out, and
did he go first? Did going first in that match mean a lot in that game, or?
Yeah, it would have meant a ton. But another thing too is that I play 4-second turns, so I never expect to go first. So I tend to keep all my bikes in deep strike except for one unit that's on the ground. Yeah. And then I just had a mental fatigue moment where I forgot to fire and fade my bike, my first bike unit, and so that really cost me pretty big. Sure. And it was like we're in the top tournament bracket. We're going to do everything by the book, which was pretty amazing. And then also had a round of shooting against the Caladius grab tank. Took all the wounds off of it, like additional damage, mortal wounds, but then he did a CP reroll on the one of the saves and was able to get it past. So therefore, he was still alive with one wound and still left me opened up to more shots. So it was pretty rough, but I still ended that game with 25 points. So I was pretty happy about that.
For sure.
And then my final game was against Mark Hurdle, and he was running the new AdMech tanks. Yep. They were pretty freaking gnarly. Like that's a lot of shots, and then you have so many plasma shots, and paying for stratagems for the reroll ones to hit on mechanicals. You have times where he was rolling the reroll ones to hit mechanicals. I was like, man, the world is against me right now.
Oh, that list was brutal, man. We had he actually played on one of the Warp Charges teams.
Trios.
Yep, he played on one of the Trios teams, and that was he basically played his Nova list in the 1v1 2K, and he tabled his opponent in 2 turns.
Yeah, I can see it.
our friends that were on his team were like, dude, his list just hosed people. It was like the most ridiculous. So to go against that and still have a strong game is solid in its own right, because it seems like some kind of I barely even gone against AdMech in the hundreds of games of 40K I played, and I know that I wouldn't know what to expect going up against it, let alone new tanks and new rules.
I know the new tanks basically at 24 inches they just rain death if you run enough of them. Like if it's a lot.
And they're like dedicated transport, so he had like 9 of them or something, right?
Mm-hmm. He had a ton of them.
And they were all exploding for some reason. I was like, why now? my solitaire, there's a picture that I put into that post where my solitaire jumped behind like that front row of transports and then in front of those like high shooting tanks or whatever, because my intentions were to charge into the tanks because I had Star Misraiment and I had did it in advance so that I could ignore Overwatch. Tanks, good to go. Well, the first transport I blow up deals 3 more wounds to him. I'm like, great.
Mm.
So then I charged into the 2 tanks. I'm like, life is good. He moves in engine seer through a heroic intervention. I'm like, oh man, I'm not worried about this 2 attack guy. He only took, he used that axe, hit me once, wounded me once. I rolled a 1 on the solitaire. Mind you, I have 2 wounds left. And then I did a command point reroll thinking I can flip that 3+ invulnerable save. And guess what? I rolled a 2. That's, come on.
The pain.
So that picked that up, and that allowed those 2 tanks to shoot, and I didn't account for those guys to shoot in the next turn because I just knew that I had those guys locked up and I was going to be fine. But yeah, he was an awesome player. We did everything by the book. What really helped him out was that he had a lot of like longer range firepower, and with that amount of firepower, it's going to take any Eldar style army down because we fall to a stiff wind, and he had onagers, those Doomcrawler guys.
Yep.
He had those 3 Scorpius tanks, and then he had like 6 or 7 transports
Yep.
full of plasma,
Yeah.
and I was like, this is just a lot. He played the endurance game, in-game objectives, and he was able to hop on everything at the end, and it came out to like a 30-27 game.
That's damn
And
good, man. That is damn good.
Yeah, and then I got capped at 25 because you can't lose with more than 25 points.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah, like I said, man, to go all the way to the end of the game with that many points, like he was tabling fools in 2 turns, man. That shows a lot to your prowess and the strength of your list and all that. I think it's an interesting point too that you mentioned the mental fatigue, and it's something I like to look at a lot because when I love the you're telling me there's a chance. There's a lot of folks that get tilted or start to feel like there's they're going against an unbeatable matchup. I've seen people so many times hit the table and say, well, I just lose. Or they don't get first and I just lose. And when you're playing a 9-round tournament with the kind of level of partying that is available at Nova, I know I kicked back many drinks and drunk many drinks of caffeine on top of that. But there's only so much that a human can withstand, and there's from your worrying about what's going on in your home life to you got roommates that snore their ass off and you can't get an ounce of sleep. You drank too much or whatever. There's so much human element to these events, and even when going against the top players, everybody messes up. And I think it's important to kind of keep your cool and believe in yourself. And I think if you start to think that you're rolling terrible, you're just going to keep rolling terrible. You got to keep a positive attitude. And I think just like talking to you, man, and knowing you for a short time, you exemplify that and just kind of carry an air of positivity that I think translates into your gaming. And, it's like, one strategy is, be positive and be cool. Be cool to your opponent. Like good karma comes back around, all that shit.
yeah, totally. I agree with that 100%. And thank you for the compliments on that. I really appreciate that.
The man had now also you might consider bringing some crystals with you. I know Jeremy had some special crystals in his pocket.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I'm a huge believer in energy. So, I had my citrine in there, had my emerald in my pocket, and then also had my amethyst to help, with the mental clarity and focus. And
All right.
if you look at that first 5-0 streak, I was really at the top of my energy game. And any normal GT, I would have won that hands down.
Oh, no doubt.
But when you realize you have to, you get into that top seed of that first bracket, and like you said, mental fatigue starts to wear on you, and so it's like you have to build your endurance up for this type of GT. And next time I see something over 5 rounds, yes, I'm gonna pull all nighters. We're gonna roll all night long for 2 days straight.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Do you think that just to feel a little good about myself, do you think that the major event practicing here at Battlegrounds helped you out a little bit? I know you said it helped you out with that game with Austin.
Yeah, and that was so with that Battlegrounds GT, I learned a lot from my 2 opponents. I learned a ton from Austin anytime I play him,
right,
or just talk to him randomly at an event. He's a very great player, highly skilled, and in that game, that was where I learned that I needed to play for second turn and deep strike those bites because in that game in that GT, he got to jump on me with those lower discordants, and he was just picking up bites left and right. And that Renegade Knight was just eliminating bites, and I was like, ooh! And that was the last time I ran Soren's fight too,
There you
because
go.
I was like, if my bites go down, I need to be able to shoot again. So that's the reason why Dreaming Shadow was the mask that I chose for this one. And then in that last game against Michael Agner, the championship
Yeah.
winner, he had this ethereal that really grinded my gears because of that leadership buff
Right.
that he gives to those drones. And, I was shooting down drones left and right, but I'm like, leadership 9 on drones? What is this madness?
Right.
So
Right.
that was when I picked up the Death Jester because I was like, I have to be able to shut that type of aura down, like
Sure.
hands down.
Yeah.
And
Fair.
so that's when that curtain fall came in, and it actually helped me in my game against Austin because he had that Slow Nash character with the Forbidden Gem. And I heard in the previous game how he shut down Magnus. I said, I don't want him shutting down Bite.
Right.
So Death Jester, concentrated on her. And, I felt that those tweets that I learned from the Battlegrounds DT,
Right.
and also knowing how to go a 5-game stretch to get into the top bracket,
Sure.
that stuff really helped. I would
I
totally
love
do
it.
that again.
Yeah, I love it, man. And see, that's a great example for those watching. Just the idea of, sometimes like even newer players, like there's like they won't come to a tournament because they don't think that they're good enough, or they don't think they're experienced enough, or they think I'm just going to lose. And like, dude, you learn so much through defeat or just through like having a difficult time. And the more you can experience these things, the more you can begin to elevate your list to have the tech to deal with these issues. Like everybody presents an obstacle and a problem to solve, a puzzle that your list needs to be able to accomplish. And if you don't have the answers to those, when you meet them at the table, you're going to fall short and you're going to lose. And the more you can get those games in, the more you can be ready and prepared. And that's where that also can come with good research, watching podcasts and shows like this and whatever. But I just think getting experience in there and not being all about winning, but about learning can really help a person progress in their gaming career there. Dean said the same thing from Field of Fire Gaming. Got to get those reps in.
Yeah, it's like going to the gym. You want to get stronger, you got to let your muscles fill a little bit. So
That's right. That's right.
Also helps if you're Eldar to bring some spirit stones in your pocket, apparently.
Yeah, bring them spirit
Yes.
stones. That's right. That's right. And it was also cool too, man. Like you were talking about, like the at Nova, your list was not the traditional. Like this, so I bet you if you compared all the other Drukhari or Eldari umbrellas together, most of them had flyers. Very few of them were running, if at all, what you were running. And, sometimes being that wild card and following your own thought process and not just chasing the net is a great way to perform above average and kind of bring something to the table that people will bring that tech and those tools to deal with a certain problem or a certain obvious situation in the meta. But yeah, when you bring something that's your own mindset, you can often bring catch somebody by surprise with that stuff. So you gotta love it.
100%. You gotta have that list that is yours and yours alone. You can't just run something like what Jim Vetzel runs because he's practicing with that list day in, day out, and you're just swapping over to that list.
Right.
You're gonna get wrecked if you don't know how to pilot that list.
Yep.
And that was the one thing that I did learn was to continuously practice with the same list, making small tweaks, no more than 100 points, and try to fit it to your play style. That's the reason why you saw like I did some cagey stuff with like my war gear selections. I had a whole bike unit with star bowlers. Why did he do that? I needed to fit in the Death Jester. So,
Sure.
it's like little things that, you have to give a little bit to take a little bit. I wish I had more CP for a battalion, but I really can't find that extra 200 points anywhere. So, it's all about practicing continuously with the same list and against good players too.
Damn, you just made it rain golden nuggets.
No kidding. I think you made a good point there too that I was just my mind caught on to is there was somebody, I forgot who I was talking to earlier today about sacrificing command points for power. in their list. And he just mentioned it being a struggle even for a couple hundred points to squeeze in a battalion, and he'd like to have more CP. But I'm a big believer of sometimes too much CP can be the trap, and it just feels like it's the default expectation to have a battalion to get that big fat 5 CP. But if it means it weakens your list to the point of losing effectiveness on the grand scheme, then it's a trap, and it's not the right decision. And really thinking about how you're going to spend those command points in a game, your most critical stratagems, and what do I do in this circumstance kind of thought process, I think is something that you could tell an experienced player from, or at least one that's a lot more reflective of the meta than just about defaulting to CP. There's so many stratagems to be able to play and take, but how many do you really need to play in a game when it comes to having the most offensive output,
Especially when Vect is held over your head. Especially
Right.
well-trained players like Jeremy.
How did you
Retweet.
Did you vex some people, Jeremy? You had very little CP.
Oh yeah, man. Like I saw some pretty sad faces when I popped that Agents of X. There's just some things that you auto do that on, like the Armor of Content or the Mortal Wound thing for the Knights when they take Haywire. They think that they have a defense against it, and the next thing you know, you're picking that Knight up. So I really enjoyed popping that stratagem when I did, and there was one instance where I got it back completely because I played Player of Twilight.
Yeah.
So the thing about that one is, number one, it's a warlord trait that in the FAQ state specifically that it can get more than 1 CP back per battle round.
Right.
But you can only get it once. And so you just have to equal the command point cost.
Yep.
And you'll get all of that back. So when I rolled that 4 up, I was like, ooh, that's a free bet. Let's go. Let's go.
Oh, man.
Savagery.
It does something to your opponent's psyche. It's like, dang, I cannot deal with this again.
Right. I've seen a lot of players use it on morale checks when they're trying to, people are trying to auto pass that morale so they can hold them objectives or not give you your kill point or whatever. Did you ever pop it on somebody for making a morale check or no?
No, I didn't need to. Just for the fact, like I said earlier, it's contingency plans. I just make sure that I have enough firepower to at least make it ineffective and shoot enough off of the objective and then force them to use that 2 CP. So that's also another strategy, is to force your opponent to spend CP when they do not want to spend it.
Sure. Totally. We saw. That reminds me of the pro tabletop game that Jim Vessel played against the Orc player. It was one of their first videos. You ever caught that channel yet, Jeremy? The pro tabletop guys? Am I saying it right, James? What's it called? The really badass game channel. I can't hear him. I don't know his audio. Cut.
I think it's Play on Tabletop.
Play on tabletop.
Man, it's like,
no, I haven't caught any of those yet.
You gotta check it out, dude. It's like if you were to have like a Hollywood production level of quality on bat reps, this is what it looks like. It feels like you're watching like a reality TV show or something. They have amazing editing team going on there. But they have one with Jim Vessel playing an Orc player, and he did the same thing. And when they were overdubbing their narration, they're like, a great strategy of forcing that CP usage. It's totally a thing. But yeah, man, I think we're about to reach the end of this here episode, man. It was great having you, Jeremy. Is there anything particular that you had in your mind that we haven't covered yet you want to holler out about?
No, not necessarily. Okay. I do want to give like one shout out to all of my opponents. League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. You guys challenged me. Made me play to my best abilities. This is the reason why I'm here, is because you guys. So, it takes a village to make a champion. So that's the reason why I always show gratitude to the people that I play against, because I always learn something new from them that I can apply into the next game.
Respect, man. Thank you for being so easy to root for, man. I mean, everyone saw you shooting up in the rankings, I think, at this Nova. And I mean, it's nice to be able to root for somebody who I think is easy, likable, who plays the game effectively. I'm not a sports person, but I was definitely cheering you on that whole event.
Hell yeah.
Man, I was grateful for that. Thank you.
Knox for president. Knox for president.
Yes, the whole crew is sending good vibes your way, sir. And you have a beautifully painted army, and I don't think that gets mentioned enough.
Damn right.
Hey, your team was listed as War Master. What's the story there, Jeremy? Is that just something you made up, or you meant to write Warp Charge Gaming and you forgot to? What's up there?
No, it's Masters of War. It's one of those things where I'm I'm really a solo guy right now, so it's like I didn't have a team going in that I really was aligned with. You know, I
Sure.
float through a bunch of Masters of War around me, so I felt like that was a fitting name. And like I said, you know, I owe a lot to my opponents, and so it's like I'm a student of them. So that's the reason why I ran with my own and started to, you know, play under this banner.
That's
And
badass.
Love it.
it'll be pretty dope rolling some more people under there, but
Yeah.
you know that'll come with time.
Well, we can definitely send you some warp charge dice, man. Get you a shirt. You know, you can throw that down anytime you want if you want to use that as your tag. Just say it.
Hey, send me the teal ones. You know which ones I want.
Oh, okay.
Ooh,
All
we got to
right.
make that happen.
All right.
It matches my army color. Let's do it.
All right. I'm liking that. I'm liking that. The blue and white of Jeremy's army always pops on the table. Yeah, it does, Dean.
I definitely want to see Jeremy in the top 10, if not top 3 or better, for more of these upcoming events, man. I'll be following your name closely.
Totally.
Thank you, man. I look forward to it.
Are you going to LVO or anything, Jeremy? Or
Yes, I have my LVO ticket. My biggest
Woo!
thing is trying to figure out how I want to travel across the country with this army. You
Gotcha.
know it's delicate, so I got to
Right.
figure it out.
Okay, man. Well, best of luck there. I hope you guys check out Jeremy on Best Coast and watch him light the world on fire with the rest of this tournament season. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. It was cool to see old Dean jumping in from Field of Fire Gaming down in that North Carolina area representing.
Hey.
Yep, go check out. If you see Field of Fire Gaming throwing any tournaments, definitely check them out. Same thing with Coastal War Gaming, the Virginia, Norfolk area. Thank you, TJK, for hitting that there sub button. And I hope you guys stick around and come back for more. This is episode 70, many more to come every Thursday, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And of course, Bat Reps all the time. So just check out the channel. Go check out Glass Half Dead and their Discord. Awesome kill team resource. And yeah, love you guys. Keep taking fun seriously, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.
Warp charged!